What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to Watch What You Say podcast. And this is a special episode. You know why? Because it is our 1 year anniversary. Maybe Michael put in some effects that says pew, 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 pew. Pew, pew, pew. Get it? Or that. Right. So we are here, episode 15, and it's entitled fittingly Dare to Dream, right? And so 1 year ago, this podcast, well, a little bit over 1 year ago, this podcast was just an idea, right? And I think so much has happened in this year that we've started this podcast. And I'm so thankful to you, Mike, because without you, this would only just still be an idea in my head. And so I'm grateful. But a vision, a conversation, a dream sitting in my spirit, right? No big studio. We're doing this in the basement. There's no big studio, no perfect blueprint, no guarantee that people would listen, no guarantee that you would listen. Just purpose, faith, consistency, and the decision to start, right? And now here we are 1 year later, episode 15 of Watch What You Say podcast, the anniversary episode. So today isn't just about celebrating a podcast. It's about celebrating what happens when people dare to dream beyond fear, beyond excuse, beyond comfort, and beyond procrastination. Because dreams alone don't change lives. Goals do. Discipline does. Action does. Accountability does. A dream without movement stays in imagination. But when vision meets consistency, reality begins to shift. Today we are talking about daring to dream and what it truly takes to bring those dreams to life. Here we are in the first segment. So dreams require more than desire, right? Everybody has dreams, but not everybody commits to the process, and it is certainly a process. Anybody who has manifested a dream knows that it takes a lot to bring an idea from here to here, right? The difference between wishing and building, fear of failure stops many people before they even begin. Progress comes from structure and consistency. And so, a lot of people love inspiration, right? You watch if you go down your IG timeline, your Facebook timeline, social media timeline, everybody is, inspiring you to write the next book and to start the next podcast, which be the next entrepreneur and millionaire and billionaire and have, the 7-bedroom house with the 4 bathrooms and the island and the kitchen island, all that kind of stuff. A lot of people love the inspiration, right? It feels good to be inspired, to watch a video and be like, you know what? I'm going to go do that. Mike, I'm sorry about that if that was a sound effect. But very few people love discipline, right? Everybody wants the result, but the process, the sacrifice, the uncomfortable growth, that's where dreams either survive or they simply disappear. The reality is this. Dreams become reality when goals and action items get attached to them. You can pray for it, manifest it, speak life over it, but eventually you also have to organize it, right? You need deadlines, good habits, consistency, and most importantly and most of all, accountability. The power of starting before you feel ready. And that is a big one. I am one who will tell you right now that I've been there. Right, it is a struggle to do things before you feel ready, because I suffer from bouts of procrastination and perfectionism. Right, I want every I dotted, every T crossed, every period put where it needs to be. I just want it to be perfect. And what I'm finding out, and what I found out in my 30 something years on earth, is that perfection is so boring, right? If you want perfection, you can look at a robot, right? And even they're fallible sometimes given AI. But it's boring. It lacks imagination. It lacks soul. It lacks depth. It lacks texture, right? Perfection lacks texture, right? And so the podcast started with faith, not perfection. Many creatives wait for the perfect time, and growth happens publicly sometimes, right? You've seen people have one conversation publicly that sparks or births an entirely different career, right? Confidence grows through repetition. And so for me, I'm a singer, vocalist, and actor and things like that. And so one of the things that has helped in my confidence as an artist and in my creativity is practice, right? Not practice to be perfect, but practice to be consistently good, right? And when you are consistently good, you will have moments of perfection. You will have moments where it is just, it is just right. And you have times when it's about the technicality of things, and you have times when it's about the emotion of things. And that goes with storytelling, that goes with singing live. I know I've sung live and I've missed a note or cracked on a note. And if this had been 10, 15 years before and that happened, I would be, I'm so horrible. I can't sing. I can't act. Well, now, especially for those of us who are singers, you are a living, and even actors or dancers or anybody, you are a living, breathing instrument, right? So there are so many factors that happen that dictate how your sound may be. Your emotions can dictate the texture of your voice for that day. If you're a smoker, that could affect how you are. You could have just had a great argument with your wife or significant other. That could dictate how you perform. But when you are consistently good over time, you develop good habits of consistency, then you're able to turn things on and turn them off as needed. And so 1 year later, I can honestly say this. If I waited until I felt fully ready, this podcast, watch what you say podcast, never would have happened. It never would have happened. I would have been stuck on stupid. And sometimes God honors movement, right? God wants you to take one step, he'll make up the rest. Sometimes the breakthrough comes after the first uncomfortable step, right? I think the first thing I posted about this was a blooper, and it was like, here I am, the first episode's coming soon, next week, blah, blah. And people got so excited about that. But that was me putting my foot in the water, right? Putting my foot in the ocean and saying, let's do this. I'm going to step out into this because I believe I have something to say. I believe that what my life's journey and experiences and things that I've gone through, good and bad, people will benefit, not just for my benefit, but it's meant to help somebody. It helps me to kind of unstuck myself, right? And so, speaking of being unstuck, I have been reading a book from Gary John Bishop, and I'm going to curse. It's called Unfuck Yourself, right? It is a New York Times bestseller, and it's simply get out of your head and into your life. And I can tell you that this book has been great, and I'm going to read a quick excerpt from this, and it says, there were days when they doubted what they were doing, where they thought, this is never going to work. Many found themselves on the verge of giving up at numerous occasions along the way. They didn't succeed because they were certain they were going to succeed. They succeeded because they didn't let uncertainty stop them. They did it anyway. They ignored their doubts and kept pushing forward. They were relentless when the only thing they had to fuel them was relentlessness. And so this book has really, really opened my eyes to help me understand that sometimes we are our own worst enemy. That procrastination will keep us stuck in patterns that will be hard to break out of. But I'm telling you, nobody paid me to plug this book. Nobody, I'm not doing that. But I'm just letting you know that this book has been very helpful to me. And I notice that I have stepped out more on faith this year than I have ever before with many things. So if you want, give it a good read. It is, again, Unfuck Yourself from Gary John Bishop. Get out of your head, right? So, like I said, sometimes the breakthrough comes after the first uncomfortable step. And that applies to business, acting, music, fitness, relationships, healing, just life in general. You don't always need the perfect conditions. You need what you really need is commitment. Now we're going to talk about accountability, right? Accountability creates momentum. Accountability keeps dreams alive. Importance of community and genuine support. It helps us to track goals. It helps us to have honest self-reflection. And it's protecting our environment and mindset. So one of the biggest reasons that people abandon dreams is because nobody's holding them accountable, including themselves, right? I remember, when did we start having conversations about this, Mike? It was maybe, I want to say January or February of last year.
Talking about the podcast.
Yeah, so we were talked about it months before, right? So you're talking about a few months. Like I said, I've known Mike a long time, at least 10 years, I think, somewhere around there. And so Mike actually, he's a guitarist and musician and stuff like that. And so he's played for me, and you might have seen him in some of the videos, played for me when I performed at places and stuff like that. So we go way back. And so he has worked on podcasts for other famous people. I'll maybe have him talk about that one day. And so it was important to me to be able to build somebody who, one, knew what they were doing and had experience, but also that I was comfortable with having real world conversations that I could just be myself and not have to put on, for lack of a better term. And so we talked months before about this podcast. And then it got to a point where it was almost not verbatim, but it was really put up or shut up. Like, put your money where your mouth is. Like, if we're going to do this, let's get a deadline. Let's get a date. I'm going to come to your house. We're going to do this. And that was accountability for myself, because I can't just talk about having this podcast. I can't just say I want to have this podcast and have somebody who's willing to go on this journey with me and not do what I'm supposed to do, right? And so by him, and he doesn't necessarily know this, but by him helping me to set concrete time, it made me step up to the plate. And I was very fearful, like, are people going to want to know what I want? Are people going to care about what I'm talking about? Are people, I don't know. But you guys have proven over this year that you like what I have to say. You may not agree with what I have to say all the time, but you understand where I'm coming from. And I get the DMs, I get the comments, and sometimes arguments a little bit back and forth of certain things that I've said or certain views that I have that may not be everybody else's view. And that's okay. That's what makes this such a great thing for me. And I have to tell you, at first I thought, there's so many podcasts, right? There's so many people in the manosphere. There's so many of the broadcasts, and the battle of the sexes. And, is a guy supposed to pay for the first date? Don't take her to the Cheesecake Factory. you leaving me on red and not responding to my text, but I see you in somebody's DMs, or I see you online, all this type of craziness, or you're all about politics, or you're all about, sex. That's all that is great. All that is fine. I'm not knocking any of that. But where do I fit in, right? What do I have to say, right? I am about many things. I am a millennial, multi-hyphenate creative, right? And so I'm also an actor, a real actor, a musician, a vocalist, a person who's done TV, film, stage, and screen. And I bring a unique perspective of real life, right? Not having it all together, not having it be perfect, and not afraid to let you in on the moments when I would want to say F this. Or let you know that I go to therapy. Like, to be a black and brown man in 2026 who goes to therapy, that's pretty nice, right? Because I'm trying to, work out things as best I can with the help that I need. And so, again, without you, this podcast would not be successful and would not even exist. And so, accountability isn't punishment. It's alignment, right? It's waking up and asking, did I move closer to my purpose today, right? Small actions repeated consistently create momentum. That's how dreams become careers. That's how ideas become platforms. That's how vision becomes legacy. And I don't know about you, but I'm in this for a legacy. I'm in this to be a legacy artist, a legacy entertainer, legacy entity in the world, right? That 15, 20, 30 years from now, you'll be able to look back on this podcast as a point in time that inspired you to be a better human being, right? That influenced you, that impacted you, and inspired you to be a better you. And so when we talk about our culture and context, modern dream culture has to do with social media comparisons, right? Overnight success myths, that's a big one. The pressure to look successful, quiet consistency versus public validation, building authentically. And I am one who is about building authentically. Like I said, we have reached, I would say over 11,000 members of the Bowtie family on Instagram, right? That is my primary platform that we've built over time, right? From one person at a time. And so I would be lying if I said that I didn't have moments where I thought, oh shoot, I should jump on this trend and do this, and that would gain me followers, or talk about this topic and that would gain me followers, or do this and I will go viral, and that would be, and I just never wanted to do that. I want to be as authentic as possible, but still be able to keep some things to myself, keep a little bit of somewhat of mystery, but still be kind of an open book. And that's how I chose to move. But social media has convinced people that success should happen instantly. And that is a lie. That is such a lie, right? Because what do you do, right? Let me put it this way. If I'm a singer, if I'm a vocalist, and I want people to know my music, but all I post are stuff, I go viral for punching somebody in the face, or for fighting all the time, or I go viral for fitness something. Well, now you're going to only want me because of the fitness content, or you're only going to want me because you see me popping off on people. You're not going to care that I can, however nice I can sing, right? That's not going to be your catch. You're going to bypass that. And then I'm going to be mad because I went and not sold myself, but I went and made myself do these things in the hopes that it would get the attention, and then I could give you this, when all you care about is the nonsense and not the authenticity of what I really want. So, but the most meaningful dreams grow slowly, right? People see the highlights. They don't see the preparation, the setbacks, the self-doubt, the nights you almost quit, and you want to say, forget this, I'm done, I'm not doing this anymore, right? Real growth usually happens privately first. And sometimes your greatest flex isn't going viral, it's staying consistent when nobody's clapping yet. Our watch what you say moment, right? Your words shape your future. If you constantly speak defeat over your dreams, eventually your actions will follow your language. That's why what you say matters, right? Speak vision, speak discipline, speak growth, speak possibility, and then back those words up with action. And in closing, right? In closing, I want to take the time to say thank you to each and every person who has liked, commented, shared, interacted with the podcast with me. I see it all, and I'm grateful and I'm thankful from the bottom of my heart, from the depths of my mind. I just made that up. I like that. To everybody who has listened, shared, supported, encouraged, reposted, prayed, watched, or believed in Watch What You Say over the past year, thank you. This platform represents more than just a conversation. It represents growth, healing, purpose, community, and the power of using your voice intentionally. If this podcast proves anything, it's this. Dreams are possible. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because consistent action transforms vision into reality. So, dare to dream bigger, dare to heal bigger, dare to build bigger, dare to become bigger, and most importantly, dare to start. This is Watch What You Say podcast. I am your host, Beaux Emerson. You can find us on YouTube. You can watch and listen. Also on Spotify. And we are coming to Apple Podcasts soon. So we have some things we're working on in this next year. But thank you for being with me for this year. And I pray, Lord willing, God willing, year 2, 3, 5, who knows, maybe even 10, I don't know. But on bigger platform, bigger areas, but you're going to be able to see a lot more growth. And also, you'll be able to see a lot of things from the acting journey. And we're also starting something new. A new conversation series that is outside of the podcast called Beaux Versations. And that's something that I'm working on. So we're going to be having conversations with one-on-ones with creatives like you. So there's more information forthcoming about that. I think it's just some posted on my IG as well, but Beaux Versations coming soon. So with that said, again, thank you for watching and listening. Even put me on the background to speak. Watch What You Say podcast. And remember, every great reality once started as somebody's impossible dream. Thank you.